Welcome everybody at home to round 15 of coverage here at the Regional Championship at SCGCon Houston. We have a clean winner in here, Sam Clayton on Is It Prowess at the top of the screen on the play against Valerie Jade on Azorius Control with a Kahira companion.
And something worth noting going into the match, we touched on there being 4 Terminus main. There's also 4 Brain Surge. We've seen a lot of Consult the Star charts showing up in blue-white recently because it can ostensibly pair with the likes of Isochron Scepter, Jade notably having that Scepter Orum's Chant package, but Brain Surge setting up super efficient sweepers in Terminus.
I'll also say, I'm a Consult the Star charts doubter, so I love it.
Oh, right. It's one of those where you legally can do it, but it's hard to say you're ever feeling great when you do.
Right. Clayton started with a fetch shock for a preordained, kept both cards on top. As you see Jade play a Meticulous Archive, surveil away Narset Porter of Veils. That one a bit slow in the matchup.
And is this one where Orum's Chant's Fog mode matters a ton?
A ton might be strong.
Sure.
But it's time-walky.
Okay, well, here's Corey Steelcutter on 2. Pretty tough in the face of this tap Meticulous Archive. Doesn't have to pay any respect to Spell Snare.
Right, get out from under that one. That feels good. And something about, making room for all these different cards. You're talking about Terminus being kind of a part of a package. This is a deck that is not packing any main deck Force of Negations.
Ooh, right. This is one that it looks like Jade decided to be pretty low on. Just 1 out of the sideboard.
Mishra's Bobble there. That is the combo, as it were. Monk immediately ready, attack for 2. And Clayton will bobble Jade. Take a look at that top card, pass, and draw for the bobble.
All right, Teferi Time Raveler. Is there another land?
You saw the miracle check there. Miss on a Terminus, but here is land number 2.
All right, Flooded Strand's a good one.
All right, just the land in the pass, heading back to Clayton. Untapping with a Steel Cutter, with an active Prowess creature. There could be a ton of damage here, and it starts with the Mishra's Bobble. Then Mutagenic Growth. So this is actually a window where an Orum's Chant could be really big in a time walk.
Right.
If you have to growth to get the token.
Yes, this is super heads-up sequencing from Clayton, where if you lead on your instant and have the Bobble stranded in hand, you can end up not being able to cast a second spell or having to do something off balance you don't want to, but this plays around that.
All right, so here is the Monk. Fresh Monk with haste. You have the Mutagenic Growth on the other, so 2 spells on the first Monk. So it's a 5, and then we have 2 off of the other.
I like your math. Let's see if the players agree. Ostensibly, Jade to 11.
Still got it. And Slick Shot show off on plot. Love that.
Plotting. Plotting.
And that is paying some respect to Orum's Chant. You could say that a sweeper is a concern, sure. But with the Steel Cutter that's already kind of insulated, with Slick Shot show off, it's often a card you want to play when you have a Mishra's Bobble. It would have been extra damage, but it would have been more damage you were losing to an Orum's Chant.
Yep, you are totally correct. And look at this. Did not crack the Bobble at sorcery speed. Waited for the Meticulous Archive to come out, or at least the fetch to be resolved. We have a Surveil. Jade really seems like they're looking for something. It's not Orum's Chant. Hits the bin.
And Bobble's going to go to work.
Oh, miracle check. Miracle check. It's a miracle!
There is Terminus, and that's the another part of that equation. That Slick Shot show off, it's still on plot. So Jade cleaned up the battlefield a little bit, but still in a lot of trouble.
I think she's missing the 3rd land?
Yikes.
Oh, you can see the laugh and the pass. I like this upkeep Orum's Chant.
Yeah. It's going to keep the show off plotted. It's going to prevent any monks from entering this turn.
Right, there's that sort of beat where you maybe think Clayton is thinking to himself, do I Lava Dart here? Just get the pressure on the table?
It's good to stop and think about it. Something that's really interesting about that is with the Corey Steelcutter, you can get the token on your opponent's turn. So sometimes you just dart, flash it back on their turn to get a monk.
Okay, sure. I like holding it as well when you have the Slick Shot show off to the side.
For sure. There's land number 3.
All right, that is the stay in this game check.
All right, but what does Valerie Jade have to pair with it? Right, Clayton will sacrifice a land, not in the Lava Dart way, just going to use that islet to draw a card.
How many Fiery Islets are usually in these decks?
Usually see 1 or 2. It is a mana-fixing land.
Oh, it's super nice.
Yeah, it's going to be 2 copies for Clayton this weekend.
All right, Core Steel Cutter number 2. No land drop yet for Clayton.
And that's a scary proposition. The first Steel Cutter is already applying a ton of pressure to Jade.
And there's this Slick Shot Show-Off in exile.
Mm-hmm.
Oof. Couple copies of Counterspell in Jade's hand. All of a sudden having to weigh, do I think Slick Shot Show-Off is worth more damage over a long game or the Core Steel Cutter?
All right, so there is the Cutter. Show-Off cast as well. Here's 2 monks.
5 of them. Oh!
Jade says 5 is fine, but Mutagenic Growth, that's an additional 5.
It's lethal.
It's 6 even.
That's lethal. Is this going to have to be Counterspell on Mutagenic Growth?
Even that only keeps Jade at 1. That would destroy the Flooded Strand.
Oh.
No longer be able to crack that. That would be a rough Counterspell. But the game has already gotten so far away from them.
This is so tough.
And Jade's going to weigh the options here. Really tough spot.
You can see she's asking herself, what does staying in this game even look like?
All right, so she's going to crack the Flooded Strand.
Oh, I love this. I think what we're going to see is them cast a card draw spell looking for Solitude.
Okay.
This is a way that if you hit the Solitude, you theoretically still have access to your land drop, and having that land is probably what a game that Jade wins from here looks like.
Right, here is Brain Surge. On the topic of lands, there sure were a lot of them in those 4 cards, and it's not going to be enough. Sam Clayton quickly up a game.
Looking really nice. This is definitely a version of Blue-White Control that is positioned for longer games against bigger spells, Amulet Titans and Quantum Riddlers of the world.
And that was kind of a big aspect of that early Surveil. Of course, Jade did miss the 3rd land drop, but Narset Parted of Veils going to be kind of lights out, a big haymaker in those other matches. Really slow, not very effective in this one.
Fastest Surveil away you've ever seen.
Yes. As players go to sideboard for Sam Clayton on the Is It Prowess side of things. There are some tools against control here as well.
You know what? I'm actually going to throw it back to you, friend. Talk us through how you're sideboarding here.
Yeah, so you do have some counter spell options. Some players, I think you might be inclined, when you see permanents that can be destroyed by Unholy Heat. I've seen people overboard this card. I'm not interested in that in a matchup like this. I do like Spell Pierce, leaving that up. It's a little bit tougher to catch a Terminus and some of the stuff that you're generally interested in, but there's no configuration post-board where Jade is just off Planeswalkers.
Correct.
And it's not like you're bad against a fairy, but it is just 1 copy.
Oh,
and
yeah.
Often at times, you're going to use it against the card Counterspell.
Yes.
So you just find a spot, 1 card. It's not that difficult to get into your deck. But when you look at the deck list, there's not really anything in the main deck that is weak. Like the things that I'm least interested in, the Mutagenic Growths, the Violent Urges, they kind of play into cards like Solitude.
Sure.
But because they're so strong with Corey's Steel Cutter, I'm not like panicking. I'm not really trying to get off of them.
Sure.
So I wouldn't hate Clayton just presenting same 60.
Sure.
The spell Pierce is calling to me.
Right. There is some amount where you're kind of just saying, look, have some faith in your own deck.
Yes.
You know, there's a reason that you registered it, and it does look great in the face of this matchup.
And there's a card in the sideboard for grindy games, Murktide Regent. I'm going to really like that against Fatal Push. I do not really like that against Terminus.
I think it is a bit tougher here. It's also the kind of thing where, depending on how much Jade has to bring in, it can leave you a little bit colder to something like Teferi Time Raveler, which is a bad time.
Yes.
It's also bad against Jace the Mind Sculptor. There's a bunch of stuff that I don't necessarily think that Valerie Jade is going to be stoked to leave in their deck, but it does just kind of add up to something that isn't really part of the game plan you want to play.
It's not out of the question to bring in vulnerable spell snares for Clayton. There's something like the Isochron Scepter that if it resolves and puts Chant under it, that might just get you. So
sure.
I don't hate spell snare. If you're looking at trimming Mutagenic Growths and the Violent Urges, it makes sense to me.
Yeah, at that point, I almost might look at something like Consign to Memory. Just like tag the Imprint trigger or the Miracle trigger.
it plays. That
Yeah.
card always finds something to do.
Right, exactly. That's a lot of what I'm thinking of there. But I do really like your approach of just trying to say, no, I think I am organically favored in the matchup, and I think muddying the water is maybe going to take away more percentage points than it gives.
And actually, I think that a lot of what Clayton's going to be doing is looking at the sideboards. We're going to get to Valerie Jade's side in a second, but I'm looking at that second Isochron Scepter, and more importantly, I'm looking at that High Noon.
Yep.
That's moving me towards those spell snares.
Yes, that's a very good point. Speaking of Jade's side of the matchup, Force of Negation, something that I think you could see some amount of temptation to reach for in the face of these really high-impact non-creature spells like Force of Negation. It's also kind of fine against Expressive Iteration. High Noon, obviously quite strong. March of Otherworldly Light, really just looking for spot removal and ways to stay on the table. Wrath of the Skies is the kind of thing that is going to be so good at mopping up a Corey Steelcutter. That's exactly the kind of card Jade needed to get back in the first game. I think the second Isochron Scepter is something you could think about that does its own sort of card advantage that you see from things like Narset Parter Avails, but it's something you don't need to invest a ton of real estate into protecting, which has me a little bit more bullish on it.
Yes, you cannot attack to remove Isochron Scepter.
Yes, exactly.
That all tracks for me. We're having a lot of fun here at the Regionals Championship at SCGCon Houston this weekend. And if you're looking to book some travel, check out some events for 2026. We have our season schedule up here. All kinds of fun stops all across the U.S. We're going to Atlanta, Portland,
Bang.
Milwaukee, and a bunch of other places.
Oh, yeah. We've been to most of these places this year, actually, and it's really great to get to visit them again. I was talking to someone earlier and said that Portland was actually one of my favorite destination cities for tournaments, which I think is a sleeper pick for a bunch of people. But the food there is incredible. The vibes are usually great, and I particularly love that there are a bunch of hotels that are walkable to the event site. Just also, it's surprisingly not that cold that time of year. And by that I mean January, which is a crazy sentence to say earnestly.
Yes, my first trip to Portland was, I don't remember, was it late last year or early this year?
It was early this year. You came and hung up in Seattle afterwards.
Yeah, it was a really good time.
Yeah.
I enjoyed both places that I had not been to before.
Nice.
Yeah, good time in Portland there. Also, DC is a spot that I've hit for the first time recently. So
Really?
yeah,
Huh.
somehow missed that one for a while.
Yeah. It's funny. It took me a long time to ever get to Chicago. It just never came up.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that one's easier for me because it's super drivable.
Right, of course. That's what, 4 hours for you or something? 6?
6,
Yeah.
yeah. Also, Chicago traffic catches up to you about an hour outside of the city.
Right, 12 hours.
Right, players looking at opening hands here for game number 2. Valerie Jade down a game on the play. Scalding Tarn. It looks like both players on 7, and both players with a Scalding Tarn. Clayton with more action, though. Here's a turn 1 Monastery Swiftspear.
Scalding Tarn, Steam Vents Monastery Swiftspear. Take me to church.
Clayton to
or
17.
to a monastery. Excuse me, I'm sorry.
Good catch. Good save.
Want to stay respectful.
Mishra's Bobble as well. That's why Swiftspear does not enter tapped and attacking. It's connecting for 2 points here, and Jade will now fetch down to 17. 17 all. And Meticulous Archive is the find. Going to see a Surveil.
Seeing a ton of surveilling in a lot of the higher synergy decks that are more sequencing intensive in particular, where sort of having this way where your fetch land can do a bit of a consider impression to find your higher power cards or your more important cards. It just matters so much.
Here is the Surveil. Jade will keep it on top. Ask, do you want to see it? You got the bobble.
You see the smiling. Both of this is the cat and mouse. I love this.
I'll show it to you. It was Terminus. Put that Swiftspear on the bottom. And here is land number 2, tapped Hallowed Fountain. Now Clayton will take a look at whatever is on top. Go back his way. Draw for bobble. And draw for turn.
Terminus is just clean living.
Being a clean living, here's Preordain.
Oh, yeah. What year is it?
Clayton's going to consider, or rather Preordain, the
Close.
2 cards. One top, both bottom, excuse me, and draw a card.
All right, pondering this library.
Basic Mountain, a Dragon's Rage Channeler, most of the way to Delirium. Here's a Mishra's Bobble for a trigger.
All
You
right.
see Sorcery Artifact land already in the graveyard.
Opts to keep a card on top.
Pausing on the Bobble remembers, hey, I already know this one. Show me something new.
Yeah. going to use the card on Jade's turn.
Right, back over to Jade. Miracle check. No miracle this time.
It's so funny that Terminus putting the card on bottom also means that that's why Dragon's Rage Channeler isn't delirious at the moment.
Yeah, it would have been a creature. Basic Island is land number 3, and here is Teferi Time Raveler. That one's fairly effective against the Dragon's Rage Channeler on a battlefield this empty. Bounce that, draw a card.
Right, this is the type of thing where all of a sudden it is asking a specific kind of question of Clayton, where he might have expected a texture of game where he can play a little bit slower, but all of a sudden now needs a hasted threat pretty bad.
Bobble goes to work. Clayton will draw for that, draw for turn. Here's a Channeler. There's a Lava Dart. Surveil. Slick Shot Show Off. Going to go to the graveyard. That's creature. We got Delirium.
Well,
And
Lava
passes
Dart
back.
would have gotten us to Delirium too. I wonder what Clayton's looking for.
Well, there was no third land. Could already also just have something like Expressive Federation in hand, which means there's no time for a Show Off.
Sure.
Go back to Valerie Jade. Thundering Falls. A little bit of a red splash here. Not a lot doing with it, but a Surveil land's
Prismatic
nice.
ending.
You can also sacrifice High Noon.
Very true.
March of Otherworldly Light. Take care of that Channeler. I might have the wrong card
think
there.
that
I
was
think that's
Prismatic
actually...
ending.
Yeah, there's only 1 mana spent. You're right. You were so right. There's land number 3 for Clayton. It's Fiery Islet. Good one to have.
That's one of the best third lands you can have.
Yes. Tap it 2. Plotting a Show Off. All right, that's another reason it makes sense to get rid of the one that was on the top.
Right, this is the spot where it isn't clear Jade is going to have a way to spend their 2 mana, and you really want to kind of create this false tempo game, whatever you have on average cheaper spells, so Jade doesn't get to, say, cast a counter spell and efficiently use their mana that turn.
I also want to say I really like the surveilling from Clayton there because this is a matchup where you just want to get one threat on the battlefield and it will eventually cross the finish line.
Yep.
Overcommitting a Terminus is a way you can lose the game.
Yep, you are absolutely correct. It's so much about using damage as a source of inevitability rather than something like card advantage.
And Clayton's going to plot another Show Off, and this is where you can get into really scary positions for the Prowess deck. Jade's going to Brain Surge to take a look. You see a Terminus that's now going to be floating at the top of the deck. Orm's Chant and I believe Subtlety among the selections. Going to draw 4 and put 2 back here.
I mean, there is an interesting layer here where you can have Clayton, say, commit 1 Show Off, think the coast is clear, go for the second, and then beginning of combat, do the fog mode on Orm's Chant.
Right. It's a Spell Snare among the holdings there. So some insulation about what's known to be coming for Jade. And actually going to complete the Brain Surge by cracking this Flooded Strand. And with the battlefield the way it is, with those show-offs on plot just with haste, it makes sense that Terminus is not what they're in the market for.
Right, this is the spot where it doesn't feel like Clayton is going to be committing any creatures to the battlefield without a lot of life being lost anytime soon.
All right, so Jade is going to fetch up Meticulous Archive. She will surveil once again.
Ooh, was that? Okay, I thought it was the Terminus for a second.
It was a Scalding Tarn that surveilled away. Jade will draw for turn.
Force of Negation to get. Hard one to play around when it's the one of.
And here's Narset Parter Veils. Has Spell Pierce mana up ready. That one's just going to work, and it'll -2.
Ooh, what time is it?
Looks like it's high noon.
Prime, high noon.
And you see that Thundering Falls. It's waiting.
Ba-dun. Ba-dun. Ba-dum, ba-dum, ba-dum.
And this is kind of interesting because Jade is thinking about whether to cast that high noon. It's scary just with some stuff that's already there because if you tap out for it and it's countered, be it Spell Pierce, be it Spell Snare, you're potentially in a lot of trouble.
You might literally die.
Okay, so here's an Orm's Chant to force it through. Okay, I like that a lot.
Yeah.
Shocks for Hallowed Fountain, and now it is high noon.
Oh, yeah.
All right, so Jade's at 14, but those Slick Shot show-offs, now Clayton is not necessarily too thrilled to have them on plot.
Orm's Tune is just so versatile. Right? It's the type of thing that reads super cool and you go, wow, I can make them skip their turn. But sometimes it feels like Veil of Summer.
It's definitely a category of card that I really appreciate, where the text box is very simple. What does it do? It does this thing.
It does what it says on the 10.
Right. But it does that when you want to do it, and that adds that strategic depth to it, which is really cool. All right, so 1 show-off is going to come off the plot. It'll attack for 1, Jade to 13. Going to be some upkeep action here for Clayton. Looks like a lightning bolt on the Narset. It's going to be met by Force of Negation.
Notably, I believe that is Jade's 1 spell for turn.
Yes, that is absolutely true. Jade's going to -4 that Narset. You do see a Spell Snare among the holdings. A Terminus as well. Spell Snare will be the selection.
And this is the spot where you start to see a control deck like this create a bunch of layered subgames, where all of a sudden there's a bunch of sort of face-up information, but you know whenever High Noon is on the table, every turn that a spell is countered is basically saying nothing happened this turn. I spent my spell preventing your spell from doing anything, and that's that.
So Clayton drew a card end step with Firely Islet. Going to cast the Corey Steelcutter. It's not going to be great against High Noon, but it does pump the Slickshot Show Off, which will now attack for 3.
I mean, this is reaching the point where you can just equip Corey Steelcutter.
Right.
That is, I know saying it's not bad, it's not what you're really in the market for doing it, but it's doubling the clock.
It may not surprise you when I say that I think I've made that play more than any other Magic player.
Yeah.
It comes up. This is one of those games. It's going to be a Surveil for Thundering Pulse for Clayton. Keeps it on top, back to Jade. It's going to use another Prismatic Ending, going after that show-off. Spell Snare will catch that.
Well, this is the counter spells going the other way.
Right, and under High Noon, Jade can't fight over this. Just the only spell for turn. Right, so Slickshot's going to stick around. Tap a 3, Kahira to hand. That is an action you can take.
Nice.
Good use of the mana for the turn. Flooded Strand and a pass. All right, so Clayton untapping with that show-off still. There still is the one on plot as well. Corey Steelcutter equips to the one that's already on the battlefield. It will attack for 2. Before damage, Lava Dart. Love it.
Whoa, all right, all right.
So that's 1 damage itself. The show-off now a 4-power creature. So that's 5 coming across if this all works.
Jade's down to 6?
Down to 5.
Holy.
Right, Jade draws for turn. Checks for a miracle. It is not there.
And I love you're seeing Clayton do exactly what you spoke about earlier, where he won't commit more than 1 threat that could get hit by a sweeper. Sure, something like Wrath of the Skies could take out everything here, but it also would take out High Noon, which I don't think Jade can really afford to have happen anymore.
Jade's just going to pass the turn. Clayton's going to use the opportunity to cast a spell and Lava Dart Jade down to 4. And that means any spell makes this active Slick Shot into a lethal attacker. Really good position to be in. Here comes the attack for 2.
And this is starting to get really scary if you're in Jade's seat, because there is a Lava Dart in the graveyard.
Okay. Otawara bouncing the Slick Shot.
Okay.
Could buy a turn.
And that's all Jade wants to do.
Yeah, a lot of times, but...
Oh, several times. No, for sure. I mean, when I say all, I don't mean that is the thing. I mean all.
Yes. Here's Clayton's spell for turn. It's going to be a lightning bolt upstairs.
Wow, and there's a Lava Dart in the graveyard.
Oh, no. That one resolves. Jade's at 1. Upkeep. Lava Dart U. Is it good? And that is going to do it. Sam Clayton, 2 over Valerie Jade, is going to advance to 11-2, is going to advance into the top 8 of our regional champion.